Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a new chess strategy and tactics video. So in this video I prepared three beautiful examples that have been played in top grandmaster level, and these examples are really cool middle games that I would really love to discuss in the continuation of the video with you, and I would really love to participate actively in this video, because maybe many of these things could happen to you, maybe not the same positions but the same strategic ideas, the same strategic concepts, the same strategic problems I think you could have in your own game. So that's why with these videos we're trying to solve them, and I hope I can help you out with my middle game ideas here. So the first example is a beautiful gameplay by Eric Lobron against the legendary magician from Riga, Mikhail Tal. My question for you here is, and I would really love for you to participate actively here, is my question here is, would you take out the pawn on e4 or would you take out now the pawn on c4? So that's my question here, d takes e4 or d takes c4. So you see white has built already some dangerous spaces here. He has a beautiful activity with his minor pieces. He's storming to you, so you have to of course search for a clarification down the center of the board. But how to do that? What would be now your continuation here from black's perspective? Okay, the bad move that you can play is actually d takes e4. This is not good. I'm not saying you're losing the game because you play d takes e4, but look at this. After knight to e4, knight to e4, bishop to e4, you can maybe kick away the bishop with knight to f6, but now after move bishop to c2, I would really not love to play anymore this game from black perspective. Look at this. Our bishop on c8 is stuck. White has here some spaces with c4, d4. Bishop on g5 will come probably. Knight to e5 in some lines is a possibility. Even queen to d3 building checkmate threat. So as I said, you probably not lose the game immediately, but I guarantee you this is not a comfortable game to play. Many of us would start to sweat here. Many of us would struggle just to get some kind of a draw here. So that's the good part here. You have to play d takes c4. You see now still the bishop on d3 is blocked out by its own pawn. Now you have to play bishop to c4, of course, with the white pieces, and now we play e5. We're locking the spaces, and still of course white has here a dominant position on the king side. He has a 4 versus 3 situation, but now again after bishop to a2 in the game, Tal clarified the center. Now he played now e takes d4. Look at this, knight to d4, and now after move knight to c5 he had at least some attacking chances. Look at this, now bishop to the e5 is going to happen. There are many targets that now black can also attack. So this is, I think, again a beautiful playable position. So in the game, Eric Lobron, Mikhail Tal's opponent, played even a bad mistake immediately with the move knight to f5. Here Tal continued with bishop to e5, and now he simply picked up the pawn, and he had now great chances. He took also here the pawn on e4, and from this point on the game was really messed up here for white. So the good part is, as I said here, the clarification. That's the must move here. D takes c4, bishop to d4, and now e5. We're having equalized the game. At least this is a good choice for us, of course, but I'm not saying you're completely winning here too with the black pieces, but at least you don't have so many complications on your side of the board. So let's see now another example. Here we have Nc3 Nf6 versus Anatoly Karpov. Anatoly Karpov here with the white pieces, and in the last move black played the move c4, creating of course some spaces or on our side of the board on the 4th rank. My question here is, what should we do here from white's perspective? How to make progress here with the white pieces? Okay, basically they're two good moves in my opinion. Knight to f4 is a solid move. It's even the best suggested move by top engines, because you're attacking the bishop on e6. But still, from a positional point of view, I would recommend you something else. I would recommend you a move that you will probably have to play many times in your own games, because it meets with the idea to battle against your opponent's advantages. And I think we can really agree that the advantage of blacks here is the pawn on c4. So now black is actually threatening to create a really further progress here with move b5, a5, maybe a4, b4. So that's why we should not tolerate this kind of a space advantage. So we have to break the space advantage with the move b3. As I said, knight to f4 is also perfectly fine. I'm not saying it's not, but I would really first always for you to consider this move b3, because it meets with the idea to, as I said, neutralize your opponent's threats, your opponent's main strengths. And I think this move is doing exactly that, because your opponent could maybe try, of course, something like c takes b3, but now look at this. After a takes b3, suddenly we are taking over here on the queen side. In the next couple of moves we can break maybe the position with the move c4. If d takes c4 happens, maybe even with the move d5. So these are really heavy problems that black is facing now already in the middle game stage. So in my opinion, really the move b3 is solving all of our positional problems here from white's perspective. So after move b3 in the game, b5 was played, and you see Karpov is breaking further the pawn chain. He's not tolerating any spaces of blacks here on the queen side. And for instance, if black would have continued like this with the move a6, then again white has great chances with this move. This wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show you, for instance, what happens if a6 happens. A takes b5, then after a takes b5, rook to a8, queen to a8, and now kingside castling, bishop to e7. For instance, black develops, but now knight to f4. This is suddenly really a messed up game here for black. Look at this. The pawn on d5 is weak. Even if black defends it, in some lines we can play maybe even knight to e6, f takes e6, queen to g4, attacking the pawn on e6, and then also the pawn on g7. Really messed up game here for black. So that was all possible because we played the initial b3 move that caused now very many positional problems in black's camp. So after move b3 and a5, of course, if something like a4 would be met with the move bishop to b4, then still you have c3, bishop to d6, and b4 as a defensive resource. And now still we can play maybe something like a takes b5, opening up here the a file. But at least we have solved all of our positional problems here on the queen side. You see now the pawn structure is blocked out. Still, of course, black has this spaces on the fourth rank, but the position is not dynamic anymore. The pawns are not rolling anymore. That's the huge difference. And now again we can play bishop to f4, knight to f4, then maybe attack the d5. So in my opinion, again, we have solved all of our positional problems. So after move b3, let's see the original game. In the game, c takes b3 was played. Now first a takes b5, hitting the knight. In the game, b takes c2, queen to c2, knight to b4, and now queen to b3. Here that was played by Karpov. Karpov castled and continued his pressure around the square d5, continued also the pressure against the knight, and actually in the original game, Anatoly Karpov managed somehow to pick up here this knight with the rook, and here black gave up 2 minor pieces for the rook, and Anatoly Karpov, one of the greatest players of all times, won the game very easily because of the initial b3 move. So as I said, maybe in the beginning knight to f4 was also a beautiful choice, but I would really love for you to consider the move b3 that's breaking the pawn chain here on the queen side. So let's see now another example. It's a nappy game played by Michael Adams against Vishy Anand. My question here for you is, what are white's weaknesses? What should we consider as a weakness here in white's position? And I'm pointing out normal weakness in chess can be a weak pawn or a weak square. So the first question is not to solve all of these positional problems. I would really just love for you to mention what are really the weaknesses here in white's camp. So what are weak squares and what are weak pawns? That's the main issue here. So when we realize that, it's much easier for us to play. Okay, here we have a problem. The c4 square is weak, so that's one weakness. The c2 pawn is weak because it's a backward pawn, and also here the e4 pawn is weak. So you see many things could happen around the square e4, I think, for sure, and also around the square c4 for sure. I think we can occupy the square, and c2 is maybe not immediately weakness because it's actually defended very well, but you don't want to have your pieces that are just protecting one pawn. So I think white's pieces have a too much dependency around the square c2. So that's why we can really target all of the squares, and now from this point on you see how the legendary Vishy Anand is playing out the game. He realizes this moment immediately. He plays now rook to c8, controls further the c file, which is of course a natural idea. But now the next moves are really great, because after queen to e2, now knight to b6 was played by Vishy Anand, and look at this. This is brilliant play. There's nothing that can be done, I think, against these moves. Look at this. Knight to c4 is going to happen. Your bishop on b2 is a little bit loose, and that was all possible because of just one simple maneuver, knight to b6. In the game, e5 was played, and again, here my choice is, would we take here, or should we take here with the move d takes e5, or should we play knight to d5 immediately? Okay. Okay, the good move here is actually d takes e5. After d takes e5, okay, black is again challenged. Again, the knight has to move, but again we have provoked a weakness. That's the issue here. We have a new target. It's the weak e5 pawn, and you'll see why this move e5 was so important to create such a weakness, because it's not, of course, immediately that you're going to take now the pawn on e5, but maybe after 10, 15, 20 moves, this pawn on e5 could be a warnable pawn in the continuation of the game. So maybe not immediately, so as I said, but if you play now first defensively the game correctly, like of course Vishy Anand did here, then of course the e5 becomes really a long-term problem. So in the game, knight to d5 was played, knight to d5. Look at this, Vishy is coming into the game. Still, he has a great control of the c4 square, and now you notice also the problems around the square c2. I'm not going to now show you all of these moves really from a tactical point of view. Now Vishy created new weaknesses. Look at this, queen to d2, and even if in some lines connect the pawn to the e5 pawn, then you're blocking out your Darshko bishop too much. And look how beautiful this knight on d5 is. So really great strategic game here by Vishy Anand. So the game went like this. After a couple more moves, we have reached this position, and now after move bishop to c1, my question here is, how would you continue now this game? So pause the video and try to see now the tactical solution of this beautiful chess endgame. So pause the video and try to see now the best move here for black. Okay, the best move, and of course Vishy saw that, is the move rook to c1, because after rook to c1, now we have this beautiful interference tactic with the move knight to e3. So the queen is disconnected from the defense of the knight, and also we are threatening the move knight to g4, beautiful royal fork. So in the game, king to f3 was played. Now Vishy took also the rook on f1, rook to f1, and now queen to d5, and you see now the problems here around the square e5. From this point on, white has a tough time to defend this pawn. Also the d3 pawn is weak, so I really don't want to show you now the whole game, but obviously this should be a much better continuation here for black. So okay, these were our 3 examples. I hope you could have learned something out of this beautiful strategic games played by top grandmasters and legends of the sport. In my opinion, as I said also in the beginning of the video, this is probably not going to happen in the same way for you, but many of these positions have to be considered. Many of these things will happen in a different way to you, and of course you want to react correctly. I hope that I could have helped you out with this small video. So okay, if you want to learn more about strategy and tactics, check out our basics in chess series videos, and also become my master in chess videos. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.